Hey guys. Um, Over the past few months, our home gym has developed a very serious problem, and that is it had become very crowded. It felt like everywhere I looked, there was something in the way. It was becoming very cramped and difficult to enjoy working out in here because I'm a person who hates clutter and I hate having things not in their proper place. Additionally, I train barefoot, and so I need to have as much clear floor space as possible. Even this area by the garage door had become so crowded that we couldn't even use it to bring in products that we were going to be doing reviews on when they were delivered. And that was a issue, and we knew that this couldn't stand. So that's why my wife and I added this Synergy Custom Fitness Delta 6-tier dumbbell rack. And we also added a shelf for storage. It's technically a shelf for kettlebells, but we decided to use it for storage for reasons that I'll tell you about a little bit later on. And so we added this rack, and it has completely transformed our home gym and the way that we're able to train in the short time that we've had it. We really put it together this past weekend, and I'm telling you, it is a night and day difference here in our home gym. This just feels like it's a completely different place. So first of all, you guys can see that we don't have all of the shelves filled up, okay? And that's because of something that I really have been excited about Synergy Custom Fitness since I first discovered them. So we saw these racks when we saw them at Home Gym Con in Louisville this past year. And I immediately knew that the Delta rack was the one that we wanted to go with because it's the rack. Well, all of their racks will grow with you because they create their dumbbell racks as an ecosystem. But the Delta rack is the one that I felt had the greatest potential to be able to solve our problems. So what I mean by that is this Delta rack, as you guys can see, as I said, we don't have the rack all the way filled up, but I knew that we were going to be adding more dumbbells to our home gym. So all of these dumbbells from these 2-pound dumbbells right here, these little ones that I use whenever I'm doing any kind of, I'm sorry, 1 pound, from these little 1-pound dumbbells that I use when I'm doing like shadow boxing, all the way up to this 90-pound dumbbell that my mom got me one year for my birthday, were on our old rack. Well, technically, that's not true, actually. All of these dumbbells up to the 60s, I'm sorry, the 50s were on our old dumbbell rack. The rest of them from the 60s all the way up to that 90 I mentioned were all underneath the rack because there just wasn't enough room. Now that old rack had served us well since 2008, but we just outgrew it. And I knew I wanted to get heavier dumbbells because in my training, I'm able to do reps with 80 pounds in the bench press and rows. And there is a place in training for doing a lot of reps, but I wanted some heavier dumbbells. At one time, we actually had 120-pound dumbbells, but we ended up getting rid of them because, well, for a lot of reasons, but one of them was our dumbbells went up to 90 pounds and then there was a jump from 90 to 120. And I said I wanted to have a full dumbbell set from 90 to 100 to 110 to 120. So anyway, because I could never find used dumbbells that I trusted in that weight range, mostly because once people buy heavier dumbbells like that, they tend to not trade them in at Play Against Sports, which is where I would normally go get used equipment. And they definitely don't put it on Facebook Marketplace. I just wasn't able to find the dumbbells that I needed. So for that and some other reasons, I got rid of the 120s. But I knew I wanted to get a full dumbbell set. And I also knew that the dumbbell rack that we had previous to this one just couldn't cut it because, like I said, there wasn't any room for all of our dumbbells and we had to have them on the floor. And then these kettlebells, which are underneath this rack right now, were actually off to the side. So this is sitting where our deadlift platform used to be. And so we did have to get rid of the deadlift platform, but I feel like that was a worthy sacrifice because this dumbbell rack has, like I said, transformed our gym and given us so much more potential. When we put this thing together, the first thing Naomi did was immediately she went and grabbed our Bells of Steel seal roll pad and brought it from back over where it was sitting on our power rack, which was hard for her to get to. And it came and mounted it right here on the Synergy Custom Fitness rack, because this Delta rack is a 3x3 rack, which means all the 3x3 1-inch attachments that we have will fit on this rack. So now the seal row pad is stored in a place that's not only accessible, but she's actually able to use the seal row pad right here on this rack. And she absolutely loves it. Additionally, our landmine, like it was always in the way. I was always hitting it when it was mounted on the rack. I ended up putting it on our cable tower just to get it out of the way, but that really wasn't a good solution. And so now we have it mounted here on the Delta rack so that I could actually use it from right here without a problem. And when I'm not using it, just swivels out of the way. So this does what it's supposed to do, but then it's got additional functionality. I mentioned that they give you an ecosystem that will grow with you. So here's the plan. The plan is we're going to get a full set of dumbbells, okay? And when we get the full set of dumbbells, what's actually going to happen is all of these lighter dumbbells all the way up to these 40s, well, probably the 35s, all the way up to these 35s are going to mount on the sides, because we've got additional storage that came with this Delta rack that is actually out there in the storage annex out there outside the gym. And we have it waiting for when we need it. But then, so basically all this space will then become available all the way up to the 35s. All that will become available for the heavier dumbbells, because then what's going to happen is the 40s are going to be the lightest dumbbells on here. And I said this is 6 tier. You see that there are only 3 tiers on here right now. So I've actually got even more shelving, again, in the storage annex that I can use to bring out here. And you can choose how far apart you want to have your shelves. So that's a really dope concept, or a really dope feature that I really like. So what's going to happen is this rack here on the shelves is going to have the 40s all the way up to those 120-pound dumbbells that I mentioned. And what we may do, now that I see what's possible, we may actually get another one of these storage shelves, put it down there to get the kettlebells up off of the ground. And in fact, what I'm really thinking about potentially using the sliding shelf that we showed you guys in our video tour of the Synergy Custom booth at Home Gym Con, and use that for my heavy kettlebells, because I wasn't sure if this would actually fit on there. And now I actually see that it could. So I am seriously considering adding a second storage tray. Here's some sneaky little benefits that I thought of as soon as I saw how big this rack was going to be. There used to be an old kind of cart that you would put like softball equipment or something like that in it. I don't even know where I got it from. It may have been a Play Against Sports. It may have been on Craigslist. I don't know where we got it from. And I used that for just our miscellaneous gym stuff. So that came out to about here, which meant that this Spedience had to sit here. And then whenever Naomi would use the Freak Athlete, again, this would just be crowded, right? Well, all of the stuff that was on the 3 shelves of that old busted up, nasty looking rack are now stored up here, nice and neat and much more accessible than before. And so that is just another thing that has really, really opened this space up. If I had to nitpick anything that could be improved with this rack, I'm not a huge fan of how this felt, or this fabric right here, this protective fabric that's on the, you know what, now I'm looking at it, I think this might have been our error, because this looks like it should actually go underneath this lip right here. And so that's going to be something that we'll look at doing down the road, maybe next weekend, where we'll take this, put it up underneath this lip, and then bolt it back down, because I'm not a big fan of how this sticks up. To me, it just takes away from the clean look of this. And I mean, I absolutely just love this color. It's like a fire engine red. It really goes well, matches our overall gym color scheme. You know, we're big fans of red and black. We're in Georgia. not the country, the state. And we're huge fans of the Georgia Bulldogs. You guys may see the Garage Gym Life logo. It's red and black, and it's because Georgia Bulldogs and Garage Gym Life was founded in Georgia. But anyway, so when I had my choice of the colors for the rack, I immediately said it's got to be Fire Engine Red. So because of the versatility, how open it has made our gym, we've got so much room down here now. We've actually got somewhere we can do walking lunges. Naomi can do her warm-ups right here. If I want to do my dumbbell benching or anything like that, I'm not cramped up and crammed into a space. I can actually do it right here, right in front of the rack where it makes the most sense and still have plenty of room to do whatever I need to do. So because of all these features, I am a huge fan of this. This just feels like it's a completely different place. One other thing I have to say as far as integrity goes, we do have an affiliate link with Synergy Custom Fitness, but Carlos insisted that I pay for, although, you know, I got this at a discount, Carlos insisted that I pay something for this, that he didn't just send it to me for free, because he said he didn't want me recommending a product to you guys that I didn't have to pay any money for. He wanted me to experience what you guys experience, go through the authentic customer service experience like you guys would when you place your order. And I gotta say that I am really pleased. This company is based in Florida. The products are made right there in Florida. And from start to finish, the communication, the emails, the shipment tracking, everything I needed was easy to find. I didn't have to go tracking anybody down. I didn't have to hunt for them. I mean, the entire thing, the delivery was top tier. It came on a pallet. So everything was done with an eye to taking care of the product that I had paid for until I was able to get it inside my house. And then the directions were easy to follow so that Naomi and I were able to put it together over the course of a few hours on Saturday. So with all that being said, I really, you know, it's a dumbbell rack, so I don't really have a lot to talk about with specs and all that. It's, I mean, I'm 5'9", so this, you know, how tall it is. And if you're trying to get a gauge for how tall this is, it's 70 inches wide. It's 3x3, 11 gauge steel. I mean, this thing is beefy and solid. This feels as solid as my power rack. Okay, so that's saying a lot. So if you do decide to grab either this Delta rack or any of the other products from Synergy Custom Fitness, the link to do that is in the description for this video. And when you reach out to them, make sure you let them know that Garage Gym Life sent you. And while you're at it, drop a comment on this video if you do make a purchase and let me know what you got. All right? Can't wait to hear it.